The red dust of Mars swirled around Dr. Elena Rodriguez's boots as she knelt beside what appeared to be yet another unremarkable rock formation. But the readings from her quantum resonance scanner told a different story. After 3 years of leading geological surveys on Mars, she'd learned to trust her instincts. And right now, every scientific impulse she had was screaming that this was different. "Base, this is Survey Team Alpha," she spoke into her comm, trying to keep the excitement from her voice. "I'm picking up some unusual density patterns at grid point 227. Requesting permission to deploy deep scanning equipment." "Proceed with caution, Dr. Rodriguez," came the measured response from Mission Control. "Remember what happened in Sector 16. Elena grimaced at the reminder. Last month's discovery had turned out to be nothing more than an unusually dense iron deposit. But this was different. She deployed the ground-penetrating radar array, its spider-like legs automatically adjusting to the uneven Martian terrain. The holographic display sprang to life, showing layer after layer of Martian rock, until— "That's impossible," she whispered. Buried 20 meters below the surface was a perfectly geometrical structure, its angles too precise to be natural. But it was the material composition that made her breath catch. The structure was made of an alloy that didn't exist in any human database. Within hours, the site was swarming with additional research teams. The Chinese, European, and American Mars bases had all dispatched their top scientists, political rivalries temporarily forgotten in the face of what could be the greatest discovery in human history. Dr. James Chen, Elena's colleague, and the team's xenorchaeologist, supervised the deployment of the excavation drones. "Whatever this is," he said, eyes fixed on his tablet, "it's been here for at least 100,000 years. The sediment layers don't lie." As the drones carefully cleared away millennia of Martian soil, a structure began to emerge that defied all expectations. It wasn't a simple outpost or beacon. It was an entire complex, its surfaces covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. "It's some kind of monitoring station," Elena announced 3 days later, standing before the gathered scientific council in the Mars colony's main conference room. "But it's not just observing Mars. Based on the data we've managed to decode, this facility was specifically designed to observe Earth." The room erupted in murmurs. Admiral Sarah Chen, the overall commander of the Mars colony, raised her hand for silence. "Are you saying we found proof of alien intelligence?" "More than that," Elena replied, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "We found proof that Earth wasn't just observed, it was deliberately abandoned." She gestured, and the room's holographic projector displayed the partial translations they'd managed to complete. This facility was part of a network designed to monitor what they called Project Garden World 345. Earth wasn't just another planet to them. It was an experiment. And according to these records, we were deemed a failure. The silence that followed was deafening. Elena continued, each word carefully chosen. "The beings who built this, they called themselves the architects. They didn't just observe humanity. They actively interfered with our development, running what they considered tests of our potential. And roughly 100,000 years ago, they decided we were too unpredictable, too aggressive, too human. So they abandoned the project." Admiral Chen leaned forward, her eyes intense. "What exactly do you mean by interfered?" Elena took a deep breath. "They conducted genetic experiments, introduced specific challenges to test our problem-solving abilities, even manipulated our environmental conditions. They were looking for specific traits, trying to guide our evolution toward their ideal of civilization. But we kept developing in ways they hadn't anticipated. We kept surprising them. And this bothered them." Someone asked from the back of the room. "More than bothered," Elena replied, pulling up another set of translations. "It terrified them. According to these records, humans were the first species they'd encountered that consistently broke their predictive models. We developed tools they hadn't anticipated, formed social structures that defied their understanding, and displayed levels of adaptability that their sciences couldn't explain. Dr. Chen adjusted his glasses, studying the data. "There's more," he added. "Before they abandoned the project, they left behind certain safeguards, technologies designed to limit our development, to keep us contained." Admiral Chen's expression hardened. "Are these safeguards still active?" Elena met her gaze. "Yes, and we've been fighting against them without even knowing it. Every major technological breakthrough humanity has achieved has been in spite of these limitations. We've been pushing against invisible barriers for our entire history, and still we've managed to reach the stars." The implications began to sink in around the room. Humanity hadn't just been abandoned. They'd been actively suppressed, and still they'd managed to achieve spaceflight, to colonize Mars, to push the boundaries of science and exploration. "There's one more thing," Elena said, her finger hovering over her tablet. "The facility isn't just a monitoring station. It's also a beacon. And 3 days ago, when we activated its systems, it sent a signal." The room fell silent once again as the weight of her words sank in. Somewhere out there, the architects would be receiving a message they never expected. Their failed experiment had not only survived, but had found one of their observation posts. "How long?" Admiral Chen asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Based on the facility's data, if they're still actively monitoring these beacons." Elena paused, double-checking her calculations. "We have maybe 6 months before they investigate what triggered the signal." "Then we have 6 months," the Admiral declared, standing, "to prove we're not the failure they thought we were. Dr. Rodriguez, Dr. Chen, I want every scrap of knowledge we can extract from this facility. Whatever they left behind, whatever they tried to hide from us, we need it all." As the room erupted into action, Elena turned back to the holographic display of the alien facility. For the first time, she noticed something in its design that had escaped her before. The entire structure was built to look down on Earth, to observe from above. The architects had literally and figuratively looked down on humanity. Soon, they would learn just how far their failed experiment had come. The holographic display bathed the Mars colony's secure lab in an eerie blue glow as Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched another set of alien files decrypt before her eyes. After 3 weeks of non-stop work, the facility's archives were finally beginning to yield their secrets, and each revelation felt like a punch to the gut. "They hobbled us," Dr. James Chen muttered, his usual composed demeanor cracking as he reviewed the latest translations. "Deliberately introduced genetic bottlenecks, planted false evolutionary dead ends." He looked up, eyes burning with barely contained anger. "They didn't just abandon us, Elena. They'd rigged the game from the start." Elena nodded, pulling up another holographic window filled with technical specifications. The architect's archives detailed dozens of suppression technologies they'd left behind on Earth. Quantum field generators designed to subtly inhibit certain types of technological development. Biological inhibitors meant to slow human cognitive evolution. Even atmospheric manipulators intended to make space exploration more challenging. "But that's what makes this all so fascinating," she replied, enlarging one particular dataset. "Look at this pattern. Every time they introduced a limitation, humanity found a way around it. They tried to suppress our understanding of quantum mechanics, so we developed digital computing instead. They made rocket fuel less efficient, so we invented better propulsion systems." Admiral Chen entered the lab, accompanied by Dr. Maya Patel, Earth's leading quantum physicist who'd arrived on the emergency shuttle last week. "Tell me you found something we can use," the Admiral said, her voice tense. 5 months isn't long to prepare for a potential alien encounter. Maya stepped forward, her eyes quickly scanning the technical data. "Actually, I think we found something better than weapons." She gestured at the display, rearranging the information with practiced ease. "We found proof that every limitation they placed on us created an unexpected adaptation. Humanity didn't just survive their suppression. We evolved because of it." She pulled up a series of brain scans from the alien archives. See these neural pathway configurations. The architects considered them errors, dangerous mutations. But look at them compared to modern human brain scans. Her fingers flew across the holographic interface, overlaying the images. They're identical to the patterns we see in our most innovative scientists and engineers. Their attempts to limit us forced our brains to develop new ways of solving problems. Elena felt a chill run down her spine as the implications became clear. They wanted to create a predictable, controllable species, she said slowly. Instead, they accidentally created the perfect adaptation engine. Every barrier they put up just made us more creative in finding ways around it. Admiral Chen's expression hardened as she studied the data. Can we disable these suppression technologies? Better, James replied, pulling up another set of schematics. We can reverse engineer them. The quantum field generators, the atmospheric manipulators, they're still operating. But now that we know they're there, we can see exactly how humanity has been unconsciously working around them. If we combine our solutions with their original technology, we could leap forward centuries in development. Maya finished, her eyes shining with excitement. All the limitations they placed on us become advantages. It's like we've been training with weights on our whole lives, and we're about to take them off. Admiral Chen was silent for a long moment, processing the implications. How quickly can you make this happen? We've already started, Elena said, gesturing to a sealed chamber in the corner of the lab. Inside, a small device pulsed with a familiar blue light, the same energy signature they'd detected from the alien facility. This is a prototype reverse-engineered from their quantum suppression field. But instead of inhibiting technological development, it amplifies our existing innovations. We're calling it the Prometheus engine. The Admiral raised an eyebrow at the mythological reference, but before she could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. James rushed to his console, his face paling as he read the incoming data. The beacon, he said, looking up at them. Its signal pattern just changed. I think it's received a response. Elena felt her heart rate spike as she pulled up the signal analysis. The message was brief but clear. Another facility, this one in the Kuiper Belt, had activated, and it was sending data about Earth, about humanity's current level of development. They're already watching, she whispered. The architects, or whoever monitors these stations now, they're assessing us. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Then let's give them something worth seeing. Dr. Patel, you have full authorization to begin testing the Prometheus engine. Dr. Rodriguez, Dr. Chen, I want every scrap of tactical and strategic data you can pull from those archives. If they're coming to evaluate their failed experiment, we're going to show them exactly what human ingenuity can do when pushed into a corner. As the team sprang into action, Elena couldn't help but smile at the irony. The very beings who had abandoned humanity for being too unpredictable were about to learn just how unpredictable they could be. The Prometheus engine pulsed brighter in its chamber, as if responding to humanity's determination to break free from their ancient chains. The game was about to change, and this time, humanity would be writing the rules. 30 days after the first successful test of the Prometheus engine, humanity's technological progress had accelerated beyond anyone's wildest expectations. The Mars Colony's central laboratory had become the heart of a revolution, as innovations that should have taken decades emerged in mere weeks. Dr. Maya Patel stood before the assembled world leaders on the holoscreen, her holographic avatar projected simultaneously in conference rooms across Earth and Mars. Behind her, the Prometheus engine hummed with an energy that seemed to resonate with human consciousness itself. The architect's suppression field was specifically designed to inhibit certain thought patterns, she explained, manipulating a 3D model of human neural activity. But our brains adapted by creating entirely new neural pathways. Now, with the field reversed, those adaptations have become our greatest strength. President Lai of the United Earth Coalition leaned forward. Give us specifics, Doctor. What exactly have we achieved? Maya gestured, and a holographic display filled with new schematics. We've cracked practical quantum computing by approaching it from angles the architects never considered. Our primitive digital computing foundation, combined with their quantum technology, has created hybrid systems that exceed anything in their archives. Elena watched from the side of the room as Maya continued her presentation. The past month had aged them all, but there was a fire in their eyes that hadn't been there before. Each discovery, each innovation, felt like breaking another link in the chains that had bound humanity for so long. The atmospheric manipulators they left in our solar system. Maya continued, we've not only neutralized them, we've repurposed them. The new propulsion systems we're developing use the very fields meant to hinder us as amplifiers. What once kept us bound to Earth will now help us reach the stars. Dr. James Chen stepped forward, adding his own findings. The biological inhibitors they planted in our genome. They never anticipated that we'd develop CRISPR technology. We're not just removing their restrictions, we're using them as templates to enhance human cognitive potential in ways they thought impossible. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't just catching up to their abandoned masters, they were surpassing them in ways the architects had never imagined possible. Admiral Chen cleared her throat. What about defensive capabilities? The beacon response suggests we have less than 3 months before they arrive. Elena took this cue to step forward. We found something interesting in their tactical databases, she said, pulling up new displays. The architect's entire military doctrine is based on predictability and control. Their weapons, their strategies, all assume the enemy will react in calculable ways. But humanity? We're anything but predictable, James finished with a grim smile. Every simulation they ran on human behavior failed because we consistently found solutions they never considered. Now we're using that same unpredictability, enhanced by the Prometheus engine, to develop defense systems they won't be able to model or counter. The prototype defense grid display behind them was unlike anything humanity had conceived before. It combined conventional physics with quantum mechanics in ways that defied the architect's understanding of universal laws. They had assumed certain things were impossible. Humanity simply hadn't gotten the memo. There's something else, Maya added, her voice quieter but intense. We've detected increased activity from the Kuiper Belt facility. It's been scanning Earth, analyzing our development. And based on the data patterns, I don't think it's just the architects we're dealing with. She pulled up a complex signal analysis. These communications don't match the patterns in the archives. I think there might be other species out there, ones who took over monitoring duties after the architects abandoned us, and they're very interested in what we're doing. President Lai's hologram stood. Are you suggesting we might be facing more than one alien civilization? It's possible, Elena confirmed, but that might not be a bad thing. The archive suggests the architects were just one of many spacefaring species. If others are watching, they might be just as interested in seeing how their perfect civilization handles a confrontation with their failed experiment. Admiral Chen's expression hardened with determination. Then let's give them a show worth watching. Dr. Patel, how soon can we begin mass production of Prometheus engines? The first facilities are already online, Maya replied. Within 2 weeks, we'll have enough to begin full-scale implementation of the new defense grid. After that, she smiled. After that, we start pushing the boundaries of what they thought was possible. As the meeting continued, Elena found herself staring at the original alien beacon they'd discovered on Mars. Its sleek, perfect design spoke of a civilization that valued order and predictability above all else. How shocking must it have been for them to encounter a species that consistently defied their expectations. They were about to find out just how shocking humanity could be. The Prometheus engine's pulse synchronized with human heartbeats throughout the facility, a symphony of defiance against the limitations of the past. In less than 3 months, humanity would face their abandoned masters, armed with technologies that transformed their every attempt at suppression into a new source of strength. The chains were breaking, and the sound of their shattering would echo across the galaxy. The first signs of their arrival came exactly as predicted. Deep space sensors, enhanced by Prometheus-derived technology, detected the quantum disturbances 3 months after the beacon's activation. The architects, or whoever they had become, were returning to check on their abandoned experiment. Admiral Chen stood in the Mars colony's new strategic command center, watching as the massive holographic display tracked multiple vessels emerging from what appeared to be Fold space. Their ships were everything humanity had expected from the archives: geometric perfection, seamless construction, the epitome of controlled, predictable design. 7 vessels, Dr. Elena Rodriguez reported, her fingers dancing across the quantum-enhanced interface. Configuration matches nothing in the architect archives. These are different. Same basic principles, though, Maya Patel added, studying the energy signatures. They're still using conventional quantum mechanics. No sign they've discovered any of the hybridized technologies we've developed. The alien fleet took up position just beyond Mars' orbit, their formation mathematically precise. For several tense minutes, they simply waited, scanning. Then, a transmission cut through all frequencies, broadcasting in multiple languages simultaneously. "Attention inhabitants of Sol 3, a voice emanated, its tones artificially modulated to sound almost human. This is Overseer Nexus of the Galactic Preservation Council. Your world was designated Research Garden 345, abandoned due to developmental irregularities. We have detected unauthorized access to restricted monitoring facilities. Prepare for evaluation and potential containment procedures." Admiral Chen's lips curved into a slight smile. Developmental irregularities. That's one way to put it. She nodded to the communications officer. "Send our response. All channels, all frequencies." Elena watched as humanity's carefully crafted message was transmitted. It wasn't just a response. It was a demonstration. The quantum-enhanced transmission carried within it proof of everything humanity had achieved, especially their understanding and transformation of the architect's suppression technologies. The alien fleet's reaction was immediate. Their perfect formation shifted, energy readings spiking as they clearly detected the impossible, a species using technologies that, by their understanding, should have been permanently suppressed. "They're powering up weapons systems," James Chen reported, but his tone was more curious than alarmed. "Fascinating design. Completely predictable trajectory calculations, though. Deploy the defense grid," Admiral Chen ordered calmly. Around Earth and Mars, thousands of satellites activated simultaneously. But unlike conventional defense systems, these didn't just project energy shields or ready weapons. Instead, they began generating overlapping fields of probability distortion, technology derived from humanity's unique approach to quantum mechanics. The alien fleet fired their first salvo. Precise, perfectly calculated shots meant to disable key defensive positions. Instead, the shots curved in impossible ways, their paths altered by humanity's probability fields in ways that defied the aliens' understanding of physics. "They're transmitting again," Elena announced. "Multiple channels. This is impossible." The Overseer's voice had lost its artificial calm. "Your species was contained. The suppression protocols were the best thing that ever happened to us." Admiral Chen interrupted, authorizing her transmission. "You tried to make us predictable, controllable. Instead, you forced us to adapt, to think in ways you never imagined possible. Every limitation you placed on us became a challenge to overcome. Every barrier became a stepping stone." On the tactical display, the alien fleet's perfect formation had devolved into chaos as their weapons continued to behave in ways their systems couldn't predict. Their shots either missed completely or were absorbed by defense fields that operated on principles they couldn't understand. "Your civilization is based on control, on certainty," Chen continued. "But humanity, we thrive on uncertainty. We don't just adapt to chaos, we harness it. And now, we'd like to have a conversation about our future in this galaxy. The alien fleet had stopped firing, their ships regrouping as they clearly attempted to analyze what they were facing. After several tense moments, a new transmission came through. The architect's predictions indicated your species would either destroy itself or remain permanently limited by the suppression protocols. The overseer's voice had taken on a different tone, something almost like curiosity. Instead, you've developed technologies that should be impossible. You've broken constraints that were thought absolute. That's kind of our thing, Elena muttered, drawing a small chuckle from her colleagues. The alien ships were now arranging themselves in a new formation, one that seemed less aggressive, but no less wary. The Galactic Preservation Council requires consultation regarding this development. Your species represents an anomaly that must be addressed. Admiral Chen's response was firm but diplomatic. We're happy to consult, but let's be clear. Humanity is not an experiment anymore. We're not a project to be evaluated or contained. We're ready to join the galactic community, but as equals, not as test subjects. The tension in the command center was palpable as they waited for the response. The Prometheus engines hummed throughout the facility, their energy a constant reminder of humanity's triumph over intended limitations. Finally, the overseer spoke again. The Council acknowledges your position. We request a formal diplomatic exchange. There are others who will be very interested in how you achieve these developments. As arrangements for the first official diplomatic contact began, Elena couldn't help but smile at the irony. The very beings who had abandoned humanity for being too unpredictable were now forced to adapt to that unpredictability. The failed experiment had become something they couldn't ignore or control. Humanity's chains hadn't just been broken, they had been transformed into wings. The grand chamber of the Mars Diplomatic Center gleamed with a mix of human and alien engineering, a perfect metaphor for the unprecedented meeting about to take place. 3 months had passed since the initial confrontation, and now representatives from across the galaxy had gathered to address what many were calling the human question. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood beside Admiral Chen, watching as various alien delegations filed into the chamber. The Preservation Council members were easy to spot, their geometric, perfectly ordered appearance a stark contrast to some of the other species present. But it was the delegation that entered last that caught everyone's attention. Those are actual architects, James whispered, checking his quantum scanner. I never thought we'd see them in person. The architects moved with an unnatural precision, their crystalline forms catching the light in ways that made them seem almost unreal. They had apparently emerged from their self-imposed isolation specifically for this meeting. The species that had abandoned humanity now forced to face what they had created. Overseer Nexus took the central position, their form shifting to create what approximated a speaking platform. This gathering of the Galactic Preservation Council is now in session. The matter before us concerns the species designated human, their unauthorized technological advancement, and their potential impact on galactic stability. Admiral Chen stepped forward, her posture relaxed but commanding. With respect, Overseer, I believe you mean humanity's legitimate technological advancement and our rightful place in the galactic community. The chamber hummed with translated murmurs as she continued. We've spent the last 3 months sharing our discoveries with various scientific delegations. They've confirmed what we've been saying. Everything we've achieved is not just real, but reproducible. The Prometheus engine isn't just a human innovation. It's a whole new way of approaching universal constants. One of the architects moved forward, their crystalline form pulsing with what might have been agitation. Your species was deemed incompatible with proper development protocols. The chaotic nature of your thought patterns is exactly what made our achievements possible. Dr. Maya Patil interrupted, joining Admiral Chen. She gestured, and the chamber's holographic systems displayed complex mathematical models. Your suppression technologies were based on perfect, predictable patterns. But the universe isn't perfect or predictable. It's quantum at its core, inherently probabilistic. Humanity's chaotic thinking let us see solutions you never considered. Elena watched as Maya demonstrated their hybrid technologies. Human ingenuity combined with alien science in ways that broke through every limitation the architects had tried to impose. The other species in the chamber showed various signs of interest, particularly when she explained how these innovations could be adapted for their own use. Your civilization is based on control, Elena added, stepping forward. You see chaos as a flaw to be corrected. But we've proven that chaos, properly understood and harnessed, is a source of infinite potential. Every limitation you placed on us forced us to think creatively, to find new paths forward. You didn't restrict our development, you catalyzed it. The chamber erupted in discussion as various species began to grasp the implications. The architects' perfect society, their controlled development protocols, their entire approach to civilization, all of it challenged by the very species they had dismissed as a failure. One of the newer council species, a collective of energy beings, moved forward. We have reviewed the human developments. Their approach to quantum mechanics alone represents a paradigm shift in scientific understanding. The potential applications are dangerous, an architect interrupted, unpredictable. They cannot be properly controlled or regulated. Admiral Chen's laugh echoed through the chamber. That's exactly the kind of thinking that led you to abandon us in the first place. You're so focused on control that you missed the beauty of adaptation, of evolution, of finding new ways forward. She gestured to the assembled delegates. Look around this chamber. Every species here has their own unique path of development, their own way of thinking. Imagine what we could achieve together if we stopped trying to force everything into a single predictable pattern. The overseer was silent for a long moment, their form shifting in what might have been contemplation. Finally, they spoke. The council must acknowledge that human development, while unprecedented, has produced remarkable results. The question before us is not whether to contain humanity, but how to integrate their unique perspectives into the galactic community. Elena felt a surge of triumph as the implications became clear. They weren't just being accepted, they were being recognized as equals, their very unpredictability now seen as an asset rather than a flaw. The architect delegation moved as one, their crystalline forms creating complex patterns. We must reconsider our initial assessment. The experiment was not a failure. It was something else entirely. We're what you never knew you were looking for, Elena said softly. A species that doesn't just survive chaos, but thrives in it. We can help you see the universe in new ways, find solutions you never imagined possible. As the formal proceedings continued, establishing humanity's new role in the galactic community, Elena found herself thinking about that first discovery on Mars. They had found more than just an alien outpost that day. They had found the key to humanity's true potential. The chains meant to bind them had become the tools of their liberation. The chaos the architects had feared had become humanity's greatest strength. And now, as equals among the stars, they would show the galaxy what was possible when you stopped trying to control the universe and learned to dance with its inherent chaos instead. A new dawn had arrived, not just for humanity, but for all species ready to embrace the beautiful unpredictability of existence.